Chapter 5, Soul Breakdown. Another deep concept that I've come to understand is that of the soul. I would like to break that down into parts. First, there is Source. Source, or God, if you prefer, is the conscious energy that makes up all things. I believe at one time Source was all that was. There was nothing else. In order for Source to know itself, in order for Source to experience itself, it split itself up into infinite smaller segments of consciousness and scattered them out throughout the multiverse. I see it like the Big Bang, sparks shooting out in all directions, but coming from one central sun, Source itself. These individual segments were sparks of divine energy as well. Not separate from, but part of Source itself. The original sparks that Source sent out from itself I call the Oversouls. The reason I call them Oversouls is because the Oversouls split themselves up again into individual facets. These facets are us. Each facet is a different version of us, living different lifetimes all at the same time. Are you still with me? Picture the Oversoul as a diamond. Each facet on the diamond is an individual lifetime. The experiences and learning gained from all the lifetimes expands not only the Oversoul, but also the consciousness of Source itself. Not only that, but when one facet learns a lesson, it not only affects them, it affects all the facets as a whole. So what you learn now not only helps you in this life, it also affects the other yous in the past as well as in the future. This is deep. Most of us have never considered the possibility that what we do affects anything at all, let alone past or future selves. Another name for the Oversoul is the Higher Self, or as the church call it, the Holy Spirit. It is the totality of who you are. It is literally your heaven to earth connection, because your higher self constantly directs and guides you, even when you refuse to listen. I was shown an example of how this lifetime affects all lifetimes. We will get more into the concept of reincarnation later, or should I say congruent lifetimes. But in this lifetime, I've learned forgiveness. And as a result, I made a different decision in one of my other lifetimes. I would say this was a vision, but it wasn't. I was a different man in a different time, but it was still me. I found myself in the Old West. My dad had just died recently, leaving me with his ranch and his fortune. I was well off. I decided to sell off the ranch and move away to start anew. My stagecoach stopped in a small town, and I got out and went into the saloon to grab a drink and a bite to eat. After eating, I paid the man, slid the change into my jacket pocket, and started to walk away. As I did, a man who I had seen earlier sitting with his wife and family bumped into me, slipped his hand into my jacket, and took the cash that was rolled up in it. I knew immediately what he had done. I drew my pistol, and while holding it to his head, said, "I've killed men for less than this." I looked over at his family. They were terrified at what was happening, and by this time the man was begging for his life. Now is when things get strange. I know without a doubt that originally in that lifetime, in that timeline, I shot him down and watched him as he hit the floor, without a second thought. However, because I learned forgiveness in this lifetime, the story changed altogether. Instead of gunning him down, I spared his life. He gave me the money back, which I then placed back in his hand, and I said, "Next time, just ask." Come to find out, he was attempting to feed his family. Because I learned forgiveness in this life, that lifetime changed as well, and I was able to make different choices. Everything changes everything else. The past is no more set in stone than the future. When one changes, they all change. Everything is connected. I've had 636 lifetimes, plus at least 5 offshoots from each lifetime. Offshoots are created whenever you make an important choice in your life. For instance, if you made a choice to get married, that would create another you that chose not to get married, thus creating a whole different timeline with totally unique experiences. That is what I call an offshoot. This way you are able to gain insight from both paths created by the choice, not just one. Fascinating how everything works.